Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and today we are going to go over the reasons why Workhorse might not get the United States Postal Service contract. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you stay informed, comment down below if you have any questions, and without further ado, let's jump right into the video. My last video that I posted, I went over all the reasons and the evidence why I think Workhorse will land the United States Postal Service contract. Workhorse is an electric vehicle stock, and they are currently bidding on the Usps contract, which is a $6 billion contract, which is a very, very big deal. But now, just to be fair, I'm going to go over all the reasons why I think Workhorse might not get the contract, just to be fair and kind of neutral. Remember, we don't know if Workhorse will actually land this contract. It's just speculation up to this point. So all the articles that I go through and the evidence will be linked down in the description. Speaking of which, let's jump into the first article. In my last video, I explained that it's really good that Workhorse Group has made it into the top 3 companies that are still being considered for the United States Postal Service contract. The 3 teams that are currently still in the running are Karsan, Workhorse, and Oshkosh Corporation, because a couple of weeks ago, Mahindra dropped out. And this is good news, but I want to focus in on Workhorse's competition in this lineup, specifically Oshkosh Corporation, which is a military vehicle maker that has ties with the Ford Motor Company. Oshkosh Corporation is by far Workhorse's #1 competitor because they are larger, they are more stable financially, they have more factories, they can manufacture the Postal Service vehicles more efficiently, and Workhorse only has one manufacturing plant compared to Oshkosh's many manufacturing plants. Not to mention that Ford is a more well-known American name that also fits the manufacturing requirements that this contract has. Also, they have more resources at their disposal compared to Workhorse. This is the truck that they are currently making for the contract. This is Ford's prototype vehicle that resembles the United States Postal Service cars, while Workhorse vehicles look more like UPS trucks and not USPS cars. It just does not fit the aesthetic look of the United States Postal Service cars. Because Workhorse and other suppliers did not have their prototypes ready in time, the United States Postal Service extended their prototype testing for another 6 months. The USPS generally wanted 44 prototype cars in a 6-month period, but because the suppliers took so long to plan and design their vehicles, they only had 18 weeks to actually build them. Because the suppliers, including Workhorse, did not allocate their time effectively, they delivered faulty electronic vehicles for prototype testing to the United States Postal Service. When the prototype cars eventually were tested, they all had major defects and deficiencies. The United States Postal Service then granted them more time to fix all the issues and also implemented 2 new vehicle tests. The first being for a durability test, and the second test is to assess the critical safety features on the vehicles themselves, because these are the 2 categories where the prototypes failed the most miserably. Although this happened to the multitude of suppliers, including Workhorse, I'm specifically being harder on Workhorse because they had 6 months to a year to design and prepare a car, and they only left themselves 18 weeks to manufacture the vehicle, so they left out key safety features and durability on the vehicles. They weren't made properly. That's why the majority of the prototypes failed when the United States Postal Service tested them. Workhorse has a multitude of electric vehicles. This picture is one of them, and it's called the NGEN 1000 electric van. So not all Workhorse vehicles are faulty, but the ones that they sent over to be reviewed by the United States Postal Service did not pass any of the tests. I am not saying that all their vehicles are bad. I am only emphasizing that the ones that really counted for this contract needed the most work. Not to mention that Workhorse does not have strong financial statements or cash flow that may be needed or helpful in getting this contract. Let's take 2017 for an example, where they had a quarterly loss of $17.7 million, and the quarter before that, Workhorse lost $11.7 million. For the whole year of 2017, they lost $41.2 million, and in 2018, they lost $36.5 million. The reason I am bringing up these past earnings is because they still need to pay off this debt eventually. These negative earnings and Workhorse's ability to not meet deadlines are a concerning pattern. For example, their pickup truck is being delayed for 2 years from its original launch date, and the Horsefly drones cannot even follow a straight flight path, so they have been delayed indefinitely. These are very unhealthy patterns that investors should know about before purchasing Workhorse stocks, and it could negatively affect them from getting the United States Postal Service contract. If I was the United States Postal Service, I would want to take a look into the financials of the various companies bidding on my contract so I know that they are not going to go under in this time of uncertainty. I would also want the company that I pick for the contract to be able to meet deadlines on time without having a history of delays. And I also want them to have the capacity to provide the 180,000 plus mail cars that I need. I need guarantees, not promises from these companies. And Workhorse might not be able to provide these types of standards considering their past. Workhorse gets themselves into debt a lot, and I know this contract could fix that problem, but they should already be good with money before they are awarded a $6 billion contract. Apart from Workhorse's less than impressive earnings, they bought the Lordstown complex for $300 million, which is not helping their bottom dollar. But to be fair, this was a necessary expense to produce their vehicles. This has caused many investors to start worrying that Workhorse will not win the USPS contract, and if they don't win, the company might go under. To play devil's advocate, I think that Workhorse is a good enough company to where that if they don't get the USPS contract, they could tread water in this time of uncertainty and not go out of business. But it will cause their stock price to go down, which will take away money from the company. There is also this Lordstown deal, and I am not referring to Workhorse buying the Lordstown manufacturing plant from General Motors specifically. I am talking about how Workhorse has a 10% stake in an up-and-coming electric vehicle startup called Lordstown Motors, who plans on going public through a reverse merger with Diamond Peak Holdings. But this brings up an interesting question. Why would Workhorse invest in another startup electric vehicle company instead of putting the money back into their own business? And it's because the former CEO of Workhorse, Steve Burns, is now the new CEO for Lordstown Motors. Now, this could be good news or bad news. If Lordstown Motors does well, which it will in the short run because people are blindly investing into electric vehicle stocks, then Workhorse gets money from their 10% stake in Lordstown Motors. Plus, Lordstown Motors pays Workhorse royalties because they are using Workhorse's patented technology in their vehicles. On the other hand, this could be very bad in the long term because if Lordstown is not successful, it will drag Workhorse down 10%, which is a lot if we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars being lost. In my next article that I am about to pull my evidence from, an analyst named Craig Irwin, who has followed Workhorse and Lordstown Motors closely, says that it's concerning because people are investing their money into electric vehicle startups, but ultimately they are investing in companies that are not making money. The analyst says that Workhorse and Lordstown Motors are both companies that have very little revenue between them. To sum up the whole article so we don't have to talk about the whole thing, Craig Irwin says that there is risk here, but there is also potential to have very good rewards, so keep an eye on both Workhorse and Lordstown Motors very closely. So he is giving the potential benefit of them landing the United States Postal Service contract, but he's like, follow the companies very closely to see what they are doing. Now, in this video, my job is to give you guys the historical evidence about why Workhorse might not get the contract. Do I think they will get the contract? Yes, I think Workhorse will get the contract, but I'm giving you all the information so you can make an educated decision on your own, whether you want to keep investing in Workhorse, why you might not want to invest as much as you already have, or if you want to just take your earnings and leave right now. Not to mention their number one competitor. Now, I'm not talking about Nikola, I'm not talking about Hylian, I am talking about Tesla. Tesla is the elephant in the room. It's the number one electric vehicle stock ever. Tesla is more of an indirect competitor to Workhorse, not for the USPS contract, but just in general, Tesla could always come out with a new vehicle to shake the industry. So let's see how this all plays out. That's all I have for you all today. I'll see you in the next YT video.